Hello everyone, welcome to the Correcting Ledgers webinar. So we're going to go over some basic scenarios of how to correct ledgers when you've noticed that you've made mistakes on the following day, because you know that you cannot use the delete button if you're not on the current transaction date. All right, so the first thing I'm going to go over is the difference between a rejection and a write-off. In most cases, you are going to use reject. So in this case here, when I've selected the $50 fee amount, I would go to Action here and select Reverse. So in this case, you're reversing it because you've made a mistake of some sort. Write-off would be if you were if you know that the patient isn't going to come in and pay off the rest of the outstanding amount. A lot of people do this at the end of year when they're doing some cleanup for their accounts receivable for end of year. And if you do end up writing something off and the patient does come back in at some point to pay, you do need to rebill it. Okay, so reversing is typically for when you've made a mistake, or you need to reverse something out and rebill at some point, okay? So that's the difference between reverse and write-off. The first scenario I'm going to show you for is a refund. The simplest way to do a refund, especially if you're just doing one visit or one item. So in this case, this was billed on March the 6th. It was a sub-chiro visit, and it was paid $35. There's a fee and a payment of $35. What you can do is you can just go back into bill here. You always want to make sure you're on the correct practitioner and the date of service. So March 6th, okay. And then we're refunding the sub-chiro visit. So it looks like we're going to bill it again, but that's not the case. What we do here is in the quantity field on the left-hand side, we can highlight that with our mouse, type in -1, push tab on our keyboard, and you can see now the fee is in the negative here. Just put the check mark in payment, and you could do -35 here. Okay, and then you refund it however you're going to give the money back to the patient, cash, check, debit, Visa, or MasterCard, and then you would hit save. Okay, and we go. And we're going to apply it to fees. Okay, so in this apply payment window, because we're applying it to a fee, we would select fees here. Okay, if you're reversing just a payment, so a credit, you would select payment. But in this case, we're selecting fees. So now you can see it come up here. We just put the check mark beside the balance here, and we go done. Okay. All right, so now you can see here there's a -$35 fee and a -$35 payment for March the 6th to reverse out this entire transaction. Okay. The next scenario that we have, a lot of people call in about this, is that the patient, they thought they were covered under MSP, and now they've realized that they're not, so they have to actually rebill it to the patient. So in this case, with MSP, usually there is a user fee involved. So what you can do is, because this one has nothing applied to it, because it was billed to MSP, typically it would be in red because it would be refused. So you would select this red $23, go to Action here, and you would select Reverse and OK. All right, so that just reverses the $23. And now for the payment, we can either leave a credit on the account for their next visit, or you can actually reverse the whole thing. So in this case, because it's already applied to here, we have to unapply it first. So that's in this AP window. It's the Apply Payment screen. So you select the payment first, select AP. Okay, we're going to auto unapply, or you can check here, either one. We go done. Okay, so now you see that they both turned white, so we know that they're not applied to each other anymore. You can now use this action toolbar under the action window here and select reverse. Okay, and then we go OK. And now you can see that this patient now has $12 that they've already originally paid, but because we're going to be billing them the full office fee amount, you will see what will happen. So now we go bill, and that was for March the 6th, I think it was. And we're rebilling it as patient, and we're going to do a sub-chiro visit, and we're going to uncheck this payment box here, and we're going to go save. Now it asks if you want to apply credit to this invoice, and you can select yes in this case. Okay, So then the patient still owes that $23 left over. Okay? So that's a lot of times when people call in, it's usually that scenario. Now the opposite can be true if you had billed the patient and now you realize that you need to bill MSP. It would be the same scenario. So you would just select the payment again. We would go to AP. We would auto unapply it or just unapply and done. Select on the fee. Go to the action. Reverse. Okay. All right. So now they have the $50 payment that they originally paid. And then we're going to rebill it. So we go bill here. Or we can change actually. In this case, if you know they're going to be MSP going forward, you can actually change their default billing. So we can change it to MSP, save that, go back to the ledger, bill, and we're going to change this to the 9th. Now it's saying MSP as the default, and then we would select here. Okay, so the $23 would go to MSP, and we need to charge $12 to the patient. Patient has credit left of $15. We hit save. Yes, we want to apply credit to this invoice. Sorry, I'm printing a receipt. I didn't need to do that. All right. Just wait till that finishes. Here we go. All right, good. Okay, and then you can see here that this is turned gray because they paid $50 the first time because they were charged privately, and now they're only being charged $12. So there's still that balance remaining. And another nice feature that we have too, if you're looking at all these colors and you're like, I don't know what's applied to what, I always say to people, if you see this amount here in gray, just click on the payment, and there's this Apply Payment Details button here, okay? So this is going to tell you that there's a $50 payment, $12 has been applied, and there's still $38 of that $50 left on the account here, and it'll give you the date as well. So this is very handy for both looking at fees, like fee details and payment details. So you could do the same thing here. I want to know what's applied to this $35. You can go into the Apply Payment Details screen. Same thing, the fee is $35, the $12 payment applied, there's a balance of $23 here. Okay? And it'll also tell you the date that's applied to it. All right, so that makes it much easier, especially if you're going back and you're correcting ledgers from months ago that you need to clean up. I always say click on the fee, go into Apply Payment Details, or click on the payment and go into Apply Payment Details. That way you can track down what's being applied to what, okay? All right, so another scenario that I want to go through is applying payments between practitioners. Okay, a lot of people get confused with this. They realize they've billed under the wrong practitioner, and now they need to rebill it. Okay, so same scenario. You click on the payment. We go to AP here. Auto unapply it. Done. Select the fee. We're going to go to reverse and OK. All right, so now you can see what that looks like. Now you see the payment is still sitting there under Frost. Now we're going to go bill it. We're going to go into bill. We're going to bill it under webinar. And what date was that? That was for the today's date. Billed the patient. I think that was the ice pack. Select ice pack here. Okay, we're going to hit save. I'm just going to say no because I don't want any of the other credits applying to it. So this, we want to apply this payment that's under Frost to this fee that's under practitioner webinar, okay? So it's not going to automatically apply these two when they're between two different practitioners, okay? So you have to select the payment, go into this apply payment window again, and over to the right you will notice there's this by practitioner little check here. If you uncheck that, it will now show you outstanding amounts that are under both practitioners, okay? So we want to transfer it to webinar. So we're just going to select the webinar one here for the ice pack, okay? Because we want to only apply it to the ice pack. We go done, and now you will notice that it was transferred. So it says transfer to webinar. So in this case, what you want to make sure that if you're transferring payments between practitioners, that when you run your end of day reports that you print them for both. So you'd want to print one for Frost and webinar so you can see the transfer. And all transfers, transfer is cash. Okay, so it's like transferring from one till to another. So that's how transfers are handled in the program. All right. Okay, and also you want to make sure that that you understand that when you do corrections on ledgers, all will take effect on the current end of day. So even if you're correcting for the service date of March 6th, the actual correction does take place on the current end of day. So today's the 10th, and it would be on that end of day. Okay. See what else I haven't covered here. All right, the last scenario here that I want to cover. All right, so say if you build something completely incorrect, so the wrong fee code, the wrong fee, and the patient paid the incorrect fee as well, okay? So you do the same thing that we always do. We click on the payment, go to AP here, auto and apply, done, okay? We select the fee, and then we can go now to this action window, reverse, okay? So now you see that the payment's just sitting there, okay? Now we need to rebill it at the correct fee code and the correct amount, okay? So we're going to go to bill, and that was for the data service of March the 9th. So we're going to change that, and it was billed to patient. And it wasn't the lumbar back cushion. We should have billed the lumbar seat cushion, okay? I'm going to leave this unchecked because they had already paid, and we're going to go save. And you can apply credit to this invoice if you want. Okay. So now you can see at the bottom here, you always want to look at your running totals for AR. So the patient now has a credit of $60 on the account and an insurance accounts receivable of $23, so you can see here. And if this looks confusing, like I noticed some people are like, oh, you know, there's lots going on the ledger, you can filter, okay? So at the top here where it says method, if you just want to see MSP, it'll just you can toggle through. So this is just showing MSP transactions, okay? This is just showing patient transactions, and then this will show both. So sometimes that makes it easier for people, okay? And again, my biggest, I guess, note here in this webinar is that this button is very handy, okay? So again, you can click on your $85 payment that we just put in here, and we can look at that and, oh, there's a balance of $45. 40 was applied to that lumbar seat cushion because originally it was an $85 charge that the patient paid. Okay, so that's why I left the credit. So I always think this is the biggest tool on our ledger here to make things easier for you guys. All right, I think that sums up everything that the basic scenarios. Again, those same scenarios apply to ICBC and WCB. WCB, there isn't a user fee, so you would just be refunding the patient the full amount in the cases where WCB is not or is covering. So if they were billed patient and WCB is going to be covering the claim, you would have to refund the patient the full amount that they were charged. Every other scenario is exactly the same. Same with ICBC, they usually have a user fee involved in that. All right, so that sums up the webinar. If you guys have any questions, you can start chatting, and hopefully I can answer those, or you can feel free to give us a call to go over any specific scenarios that you may have. Obviously, there's going to be some that come up that you feel that wasn't covered here, so please give us a call and we can go through those with you. Thank you so much for joining us on our webinar today and participating in the survey. It's nice to have some feedback to know what kinds of topics need to be covered, and we can do some more webinars for you guys. Again, thank you so much for your time.